Welcome back to Hilaal Live. Now, South African cities could reduce the electricity outages hobbling our economy by installing water heaters powered by artificial intelligence. Now, a 30-month study by Plentify has found that installing devices that automatically switch off to avoid consumption at peak times and take advantage of solar power at the more sunniest hours of the day in just a quarter of the city's households could cut blackouts by 20 hours a month. Now, to explain all of this, I'd like to welcome the co-founder and CEO of Plentify, Jon Kornick. Jon, good day and thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Faraz. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
No, it's an absolute pleasure to have you. Okay, Jon, explain to us how this is done, because I read this article on MoneyWeb and I said, look, I have to get you in to just maybe give an idea of how this could be done, given the energy crisis that we have in our country.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to explain it. So to understand what we're doing with this technology, it's first important to understand the problem that we're trying to solve. And that's the problem which household appliances create on our electricity grid. This is not a fault of the households. It's just a natural behavioral phenomenon that people wake up in the mornings, they use a bunch of electricity, they go to work, they come home, they use a bunch more electricity. And so they create these peaks in demand in the mornings and evenings. And those peaks are often driven by your geyser. The problem is that these peak periods in the mornings and evenings overlap with the times when Eskom is struggling the most to keep the lights on and are consistently burning diesel to do so. In fact, if you quantify it, about 3,700 Rand of diesel per year is burned to heat the water in your geyser. And pretty much none of that needs to happen at that moment. And that's where Hotpot comes in. So Hotpot is a small device, about 15 centimeters by 15 centimeters, that gets installed alongside your geyser, and it's got a bunch of sensors and wires that then plug onto the geyser. And what Hotpot does is it learns how your geyser operates. It learns when you want hot water, how your geyser heats and stores energy, and combines that with a whole bunch of constraints on the system. For example, we've got load shedding from 4 to 6 p.m. You're not going to be able to heat them. Make a plan around it. Or today's a sunny day. Let's move as much demand into the middle of the day as possible. Take advantage of that solar. And it does this not just in your home, but across everyone's homes, coordinating so that we shift that demand away from the times when the grid is most constrained towards times where renewable energy is available, while making sure you get hot water and while making sure you see a meaningful reduction in your electricity bill.
Jon, artificial intelligence, when we mention those two words, there's a lot of fear that comes within a lot of people, but it's part and parcel of the fourth industrial revolution. Now, talk to us about how artificial intelligence is used in this process with Hotpot.
Yeah, sure. So you're completely correct that there are many legitimate fears about artificial intelligence. And AI it's a very broad field encompassing many different technologies. I think the one that's top of mind for most people at the moment is generative AI with ChatGPT, Midjourney, and all those great things. The branch of AI that we apply in our product is machine learning, and more specifically, predictive analytics. So what we're doing is we are predicting what's going to happen in the future. We're predicting when you're going to want hot water, predicting how much solar is going to be available, predicting what's going to happen with the grid, and using those predictions to make decisions around when to turn your geyser on and off. So it really isn't that scary, except in one way. It's similar to those scary AIs in that it's going to take your job. It's going to take your job in thinking about your geyser ever again.
Jon, the use of this, of course, I want to start off where it's being obviously trialed. If I stand to be corrected, the city of Cape Town, of course, are one of those municipalities that want to try and go ahead and use that. Has that trial started, and has there been any success with regards to that? Can you maybe expand on that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was actually the origin of the article that Bloomberg and MoneyWeb, et cetera, wrote. We just finished this study called Project Smart Geyser. This was a 30-month research study to try demonstrate how intelligent geyser control could contribute towards ending load shedding and enabling the transition towards renewables. This was a project which we ran with the city of Cape Town, with Hilaal municipality, which is on the Garden Route of the Western Cape, with the GIZ, the German Development Agency, EEP Africa, and a few others, including UCT. Over the course of this 30-month project, we ran in about 500 homes across Cape Town and Hilaal. We ran a variety of different experiments. And through those experiments, this is where we demonstrated all of these things about, hey, you can actually reduce 80% of energy during peak times without ever serving a single cold shower. And hey, did you know that what happens during load shedding is all those geysers get cold, and when load shedding ends, everybody's geyser wants to turn on again at the same time. And you have the spike in demand, 90% larger than the usual demand level. And that's what blows up infrastructure on our grid. And that's what pushes up demand charges, which drives electricity bills. And geysers can, if managed properly, completely eliminate that. Geysers can crowd load into the middle of the day and double the size of solar systems. These are some of the findings that we got from this. Of course, there's many more hotpots out there outside of the 500 in this project, but that's specifically what we're aiming for with this cohort.
Jon, I'm going to ask you to put your futurist hat on. I know you've had it on for quite some time, but I'm going to ask you to keep it on. The buy-in from municipalities, because I would like to think that the study and this innovation is something that that you would like to expand throughout all the municipalities in South Africa. How important is it that maybe even if it's 5 or 10 years down the line, as we still have this energy crisis, that it's important for these municipalities and metros and, of course, a national government to buy into this idea that we are living in a world where the fourth industrial revolution demands this to happen?
Yeah, it's critical. I mean, I think in order to address the energy crisis, there are 3 key ingredients. And these are the same 3 key ingredients that are also needed to enable the transition to renewable energy. Those ingredients are generation, like lots of new solar and wind, storage, lots of batteries, and demand flexibility. Because we're changing from a paradigm where in the past we had centralized generation plants supplying a whole bunch of demand everywhere else, to a future of a whole bunch of distributed supply, solar panels in people's roofs, batteries in people's homes that are supplying and competing with each other on this grid. And you need to, because of the intermittency of those renewables and the fact that you can't predict exactly when they're going to shine, you need demand to start being more flexible. The good news is that the government fully recognizes this, and they see demand flexibility and demand response as a key tool in their toolkit to addressing the crisis. We're obviously engaging with them there. The key question in front of them is, what is the right way to do demand flexibility? Because there are lots of different technologies out there. And I guess the one trade-off that we're trying to make clear in policymakers' minds is that there are some technologies you can implement today on the demand side that will address load shedding, but are actually going to hamper us for our transition to renewable energy. So if we're going to be making these infrastructural investments anyway, why not invest in something that both fixes load shedding and prepares us for a competitive energy future for our economy?
Jon, one final question. I want to bring in the artificial intelligence question. And how far are South Africans and, of course, the stakeholders and the lawmakers in fully accepting artificial intelligence as the norm of today's society?
I mean, I think it's a great question. I think that South Africans are probably behind the curve globally on the adoption curve compared to more advanced economies who've been exposed to this more deeply for longer. But like whether they've accepted or not is kind of irrelevant. It's coming. It's the technology that is being implemented to everything in our lives these days. And some of the things we need to tread cautiously around, and others, they really can help improve our lives. We've definitely seen pushback in our marketing efforts when we emphasize the kind of artificial intelligence aspects of our product. There certainly is a fear, and one that we hope we can address by demonstrating that this is safe technology that works for the benefit of the homeowner.
Jon, thank you so much for joining us here on Hilaal Live. Much appreciated.
Thanks, Faraz. It's been a pleasure.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Jon Kornick is the co-founder and CEO of Plentify. Very interesting there how artificial intelligence can actually, find a way of telling your geyser, hey, now is not the time to use it. This is the time to use it. We are heading into those times. And I think what's going to be important is trying to make sure that while we are in that fourth industrial revolution, there is also, the maintenance of human labor, because South Africa, especially in this economy, cannot afford the unemployment rate to go even further higher. So a very challenging time for the lawmakers, the stakeholders, and all those involved when it comes, of course, balancing this act. After the break, I'll have your latest in news. Do stay tuned.